Kharkiv is the second largest city of Ukraine, the scientific center of our state and the center of the Kharkiv region. There are about 1.5 million people living here today. Kharkiv holds the 8th place among the cities of Eastern Europe for population size. Kharkiv is traditionally a multinational city, with representatives of 111 nationalities living here. The part of Ukrainians takes about half of the total population. During the Soviet times, Kharkiv became the largest center of tank, tractor and turbine engineering. It was the third largest industrial, scientific and transport center after Moscow and Leningrad. In the second half of the 20th century, it was admitted as the main transport hub of southeastern Europe. Kharkiv is located in the extreme south of the central Russian upland, on the 50th parallel, which divides the city into two almost equal parts. At the same time, it is the largest city in the world lying at this latitude, ahead of Krakow, Prague, Mainz and Ust-Kamenogorsk. Memorial sign the 50th parallel was installed in Shevchenko Garden right on the pavement in 2010. Kharkiv is located on 5 hills at confluence of rivers of Lopan and Kharkiv. The city's average height above the sea level is 135 meters. The city is quite young, it's over 360 years old. According to the legend, Kharkiv was founded by the mythical Cossack Kharko, a monument to whom adorns the beginning of the Science Avenue. The fortress, which gave rise to the city, was built by decree signed by Tsar Alexei Mikhailovich in 1656. The historic center of Kharkiv, from Constitution Square to Klotchkovska Street, is located exactly on the place where once stood the legendary fortress. Today, there are many historical and architectural monuments that attract the attention of tourists and guests of Kharkiv. The heart of the city is the local government building of Kharkiv City Council. Nearby rise the famous monuments of architecture: the building with a spire, erected after the Second World War, and the Palace of Labor, more than a century old. The complex of buildings of the Holy Intercession Monastery is where you can see the very first stone building of the city, the Intercession Church, built in 1689 at the expense of the Cossacks. Here is also the diocesan administration, the monastery itself, the sculpture of the Savior Jesus Christ, and Azeryanska Church, which is 2 centuries younger than the Intercession Church. It successfully complements the ensemble with the buildings of the former Gille and Dietrich factory, adjacent to the monastery buildings. The complex is decorated with an elegant terraced square named Intercession and located between the Cathedral Descent and the Holy Intercession Monastery. And on the Constitution Square, almost next to it, you can see the elegant monument of Flying Ukraine, built in the honor of the independence of Ukraine. The dynamic sculpture has become a center uniting all the architectural landmarks located around the green building of the Kharkiv Historical Museum. The famous Bursatsky descent and the beginning of the street Rimorska, at the intersection of which stands the monument to Ukrainian Cossack Ivan Sirko, who was one of the leaders of the Cossacks defending Ukraine in the 17th century. And in the former premises of the Kharkov old-time religious brotherhood of Bursa School, today are trained future specialists in many art directions. In front of the historical museum, there is a so-called Beketovska wall. The 3 buildings designed by our famous architect Alexei Beketov. The second name of this complex is the Bank Wall, as several buildings used to belong to the Land Bank, Volga Kama Bank, International St. Petersburg Bank, and Moscow Trade Bank. Now they host the Transport College, the House of Science and Technology, and the Puppet Theater named after Afanasyev. From the historical center of the north, Street Sumska leads to where, in the middle of the last century, a symbol of Kharkiv was built, a fountain called Mira Stream. It was decided to make it in style of Kislovodsk glass jet but looking more fundamental to dedicate the victory in the World War II. It was installed in 1947 in Victory Square and quickly became a favorite vacation spot and one of the symbols of our city. More recently, the landscape of the park was replenished with a new temple of the Holy Myrrh Bearers. The temple was erected near the place where 85 years before its appearance had stood its historical predecessor, the Myrrh Bearers Church. Consistent with the design of the Mira stream, the Church of the Holy Myrrh Bearers took its rightful place in the architectural ensemble of this picturesque corner of Kharkiv. Not far from the Mira stream, a little down the street Sumskar, there is another famous symbol of our city, a monument to poet Taras Shevchenko. It has been recognized as the best among the 250 monuments to the great Kobza author installed in different parts of our planet. 3 years after the establishment of the monument, the park, renamed multiple times, finally received the name of Shevchenko. The central square of the city is Freedom Square, one of the largest squares in the world and Europe. It occupies almost 12 hectares and is enormous. It is encircled by the most important and beautiful architectural objects of Kharkiv. The square appeared due to the fact that, being the first capital of Soviet Ukraine, the old city center lacked administrative buildings. It was decided to create a new center on the former university lands. The most gigantic building in the Soviet Union at that time was laid, the House of State Industry, Gazprom. In record time, 2.5 years, of monolithic reinforced concrete, there was built a unique architectural masterpiece in the style of constructivism to be later included into a preliminary list of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. The building of Gazprom became the dominant of the square, the symbol of Kharkiv and the forming element for the whole adjacent district, the streets, the buildings and the communications. Since the building of Kharkiv fortress to now, the appearance of the city is determined by churches of various denominations. There are a lot of communities of all major world religions in Kharkiv. The majority of believers of the city are Orthodox Christians. One of the tallest buildings in Kharkiv until recently has been Alexander Bell Tower of Annunciation Cathedral. According to the legend, architect Vasiliev resorted to a trick, building it 5.5 meters taller than the Bell Tower of Ivan the Great in Moscow. The clock on the bell tower always shows the citizens the exact time. The Annunciation Cathedral became one of the largest churches in Russian Empire. On major holidays, it used to accommodate up to 4,000 people. Its construction took 7 million bricks. Catholicism in Kharkiv is represented by the Cathedral of the Assumption of Mary. Its congregation consists of Roman Catholics of different nationalities, but the Polish stands out as the biggest. Kharkiv Choral Synagogue on Pushkinska Street is the largest in CIS countries and the second largest in Europe. The dome of it, covered with sheets of Chilean copper, rises to a height of 42 meters. The synagogue hall can accommodate about 1,000 people. The vault of scrolls has the height of 9 meters. Kharkiv is divided into 9 districts administratively. The majority of citizens live in comparatively new residential areas, dominated by multi-story buildings. The largest dormitory town of the city is Saltovka. Here living about 400,000 people. Many residential areas appear to support industrial missions, close to new plants, factories and enterprises. Inhabitants of Kharkiv overcome the inevitable monotony of modern typical multi-story buildings with the help of new creative trend. On the walls of the houses, they create huge paintings, murals, adding bright coloring to each part of the city. Kharkiv is considered not only a scientific capital of Ukraine, but also the capital of students. More than 200,000 students study here. Proud of several dozens of higher educational institutions, famous scientific and teaching schools and traditions, scholarships and victories at the scientific Olympiads and international student competitions. Almost half of the city's population has higher education. Kharkiv had the largest number of foreign students in Ukraine, more than 12,000 people. Kharkiv has been recognized as the city of high culture for many decades all over the world. The main stage of the city, Kharkiv National Academic Opera and Ballet Theatre, named after Lysenko, is the first Ukrainian stationary opera house with a rich classical and modern opera and ballet repertoire. The city has a large number of famous state and amateur theatre groups. Kharkiv is considered a theatrical city, where people appreciate, love and understand the language of music, choreography and dramatic art. Kharkiv is a green city with a lot of beautiful relaxation areas. The Central Park of Culture and Leisure, named after Maxim Gorky, became a calling card and a matter of pride of all inhabitants of Kharkiv. The park was founded long before the October Soviet Revolution in 1893-1895. The layout of its alleys repeats that of the Bois de Boulogne. After the major reconstruction in 2012, Gorky Park received the International Award for the Modern Concept and Thematic Design. Today, it has more than 30 attractions for visitors of all ages, with the largest in Ukraine Ferris wheel with a diameter of 55 meters. The park is divided into different thematic areas where everyone can find entertainment. One of the highlights of the Gorky Park is the cable car with 18 pillars and 124 passenger cabins. The length of the route is 1,387 meters. It is used not only as the attraction, but also as one of the means of transport. The development of Kharkiv was determined, among other factors, by the Southern Railway and the beginning of the movement of trains in July 1869. Today, the railway serves more than 1,000 industrial and more than 2,000 commercial enterprises. Since 1940, the Gorky Central Park is the location of smallest Southern Railway, a children and youth managed unit of the Southern Railway in Kharkiv. Kharkiv International Airport is the largest airport in Eastern Europe. By 2012, 2 new terminals had been built, the existing one reconstructed, and a new runway developed. Daily, the Kharkiv is served by Kharkiv Electric Transport, trams and trolleybuses. The Kharkiv metro transports a huge amount of passengers every day, using 3 operating lines with a length of about 40 kilometers, 30 stations and 3 underground interchange hubs in the city center. Kharkiv is a sports city with a great number of stadiums and training facilities. Especially popular among inhabitants of Kharkiv is our famous Palace of Sport. Kharkiv athletes won more than 20 silver and bronze medals at the Summer Olympic Games and 24 gold medals, 17 of which as a part of the USSR team. Stadium Metalist is the main stadium of the city. It hosts matches of the local football club Metalist, founded in December 1925. A silver medalist and a 7-time bronze medalist of the Championships of Ukraine and a quarter-finalist of the UEFA European League. The Lokomotiv Sports Complex constantly gathers disciples of volleyball, synchronized swimming, and many other kinds of sports, which are supported by lots of most loyal fans in the world. Incredibly popular in recent years have become marathon races and all kinds of cyclist competitions. Kharkiv is the only city in Ukraine that has a full set of awards of the Council of Europe. In 2002, the city was awarded a European diploma for its outstanding contribution to the dissemination of the idea of European unity and the restructuring of the European community. In 2004, Kharkiv received the honorary flag of the Council of Europe. The honorary table of Europe was awarded to the city in 2008. The European prize was awarded in 2010. Kharkiv is the first city in Ukraine that has received these awards.
Это город вдохновенной красоты. Здесь рождаются талантливые люди. Этот город — это я и это ты. И за